Whoa, what a move today. Talk about a bull trap, baby, off the high. Hope you guys made some money on the way down. Well, I think we got the pullback we were talking about in last night's video. So is it now just pull the string, squeeze the bears, and right back up to last week's high? Could be. Definitely could be tomorrow, later on this week. We got a problem, though. That's a lot of bear momentum we had going lower today. And so we got to be careful picking these bottoms for that move back up. Not to worry. I got a great game plan for tomorrow. I'm going to cover my favorite. I've got 3, maybe 4 really good potential reversals, bear trap trades, squeeze trades on my radar for tomorrow. I'm going to give you guys a good roadmap to make some money on Thursday. Now, before we jump in, though, and get the party going, we have a lot to cover in a very important video. Before we jump in, though, make sure you subscribe to our channel. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video, all right? So make sure you subscribe. And if you like these videos tonight, guys, do me a favor, as always. Hit that like button for me and give me a holler. Introduce yourself. Say hello in the comment section below. All kidding aside, though, thank you so much for tuning in, supporting the channel. But enough of the intro here. Let's get this party going here. Great day today. Hoping to have another great day tomorrow morning in the trade room. Let's start off now on the 60-minute chart. Remember, I like to start off on the 60-minute, the Nasdaq and the Emini and the SPY. The 60-minute charts help me plan my trades for the following day. And then later on in the video tonight, we're going to drill down to our tick charts. Tick charts are the best for timing the perfect entry. So we'll talk about entries a bit later on in the video. What is the 60-minute chart telling us right now? Well, if you watch last night's video, we now got that deep pullback, right? We mentioned that squeeze going higher, that melt up going higher late last week into the holiday weekend. And last night we talked about the fact that we probably would need a deep pullback to attract in more buyers, give them some meat on the bone, right? And then potentially back up to retest those highs. And of course, we talked about that bull trap that fired off on the Nasdaq last night. So at this point, we got the deep pullback. The only challenge, though, is like I said earlier, this is a lot of bearish momentum, especially on the S&P. And there are 3, maybe 4, I'll give you guys a bonus here tonight, 3 different ways to kind of trap the bears in, use their stops for fuel, and try to get this run back up into that trading range. So it could be a very, very good day for us tomorrow in our trade room. And we're going to talk about the 3, 4 different ways to buy this market right now without trying to pick the bottom on this. Now, before we jump into the tick charts, let's take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. There's really nothing on the calendar worthy of our attention here for tomorrow. Jobless claims at 8:30, probably not going to be a big market mover for tomorrow. So kind of a wide open day tomorrow, and really there isn't much news until we go into next week. So what that tells us tomorrow is be listening in for any unexpected news headlines, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open tomorrow in our trade room. Now let's get back to our charts, though. Now that you know the lay of the schedule for tomorrow, let's go over now my favorite trades here for tomorrow, because I have a lot I want to cover. I want to give you guys a good roadmap to make some money. Let's start on the S&P and the SPY first, and we'll wrap tonight up on the Nasdaq and the QQQs. Like I mentioned in the introduction, we had that big bull run up, that nice deep pullback, and now we're trying to ultimately trap in some of these sellers. We have to assume that strong move down, the bears are going to try to fight this, and the goal will be to use their stops, trap them in, use their stops to fuel this move back up into that high. Let's drill down now the tick charts. As I mentioned earlier, tick charts make everything easier. They really do. They make entries a whole lot easier. And this is a 7,000 tick chart, upper left-hand corner for the time frame. And if you're watching for the first time right now, that is the 21 EMA. It's not the only indicator we use, but it's the most important one we use every morning in our trade room. Now, there are 2 big important factors or fundamentals on the chart right now. The most important factor is this huge move down we saw today on the S&P, range bound, then broke out and went 3 legs down today. Anytime we see a big move like this, we always expect to see a 2-legged pullback and a retest of that low. these two-legged pullbacks, if you recall from last week's videos, are usually a little bit more than a 100% extension, right? So we're just a little bit above that 100. So knowing that this is what usually happens after a big move, the second component now is that overall bullish market that we saw on the 60-minute. So big move down tells us to expect that two-legged pullback and that retest of that low. There are ways to sell it on the way down. There are ways to buy it on the way up. And later on in the video, I'm going to talk about some variations of this, right? Because who knows, right? We may V-bottom and rip higher. We may also hold that low as well. So I want to talk about some variations of this as well. There are three different setups you want to think about right now. Again, big move down, deep pullback, two-legged pullback, retest the low. That's the goal of those sellers. How do we sell back down to retest that low? Remember, we're an overall bull market right now, so hopefully we'll get the buyers to come in, try to run this higher, and what I'll do is I'm going to use what I call a two-try failure pattern. In the free trading class, you guys learn about failure patterns, right? I want to see a 1, I want to see 2, I want to see these buyers try a couple times. Get them trying to send this thing higher. What I'll do is I'll look to short right into their stops, right? Imagine now buyers once, buyers twice. Think about now where their stops are. And I want to sell short back down to retest that low. Again, the objective is to retest that low. Now, one thing about this pattern, okay, one variation of this pattern that you need to be aware of, I want you to think about this distance right there. Now draw a line right between the middle, okay? Above this, I have a good risk reward, right? I have a 1-to-1 risk reward. If I end up going below that halfway point, now I have to make a small variation. What you want to look for is a bull trap entry. I still want that 1 try for the buyers, 2 try for the buyers, but if we get underneath this halfway point, okay, now I don't want to sell down here, right? Now my risk and reward are off balance there. Now we look for that bull trap and we sell down from there. So one very subtle but very important risk reward kind of filter on this. Again, big move down, pull back, retest that low. While we're trying to retest that low, buyers once, buyers twice. Use that failure pattern you guys are learning in the free trading course for that run back down to retest the low. However, if it slips and falls, right? If it slips and goes 1, 2 like that, oh no, I'm not selling right there. What we look for? We look for that trap overhead, right? That should make sense, right? Because then I get that risk here, reward there. See how I keep that risk reward? It's all based on how big is that pullback. So just one very simple pattern and a variation of it in case we do get something a little bit lower and I don't want to be selling too close to that low. Now, I love the idea of buying the double bottom. One of my favorite trades ever is an overall bull market with a strong move down for the bears. If we can get back to that double bottom, this becomes a very desirable trade. And again, later on in the video, I'm going to give you guys a couple variations of these, right? Because again, I kind of outline my favorite trades in these videos, but the markets love to throw us curveballs, right? So we'll cover that a bit later on in the video. How do I buy down there? How do I buy down there? Remember, there's two important questions you always need to ask yourself. How is location and how is momentum? Location is primo. That is beautiful location to be a buyer because you're buying very low, you're buying at support after a big move down. There will not be a lot of sellers that are going to be there. Who's going to be there? Rookies. The problem is momentum, right? Momentum is very bearish if we go back and retest that low. So the way you want to do this is, again, assume we get that 1, 2 back down, is now what I want to do is use that same pattern. Right now, remember, think about it. This will not be professionals down here. These are rookies. Trap those rookies in. 1 try for the bears, 2 try for the bears. Again, I like the idea of being a buyer down here, but I don't love the idea of picking bottoms. Okay, picking tops and bottoms is it's a rookie's game. Let those bears try a couple times because for all I know, it'll keep going. Right? For all I know, it'll keep going. Let them try a couple times and think about where their pain is. Okay, think about where their pain is. Think about where those sellers, if they got trapped in, where the stops would be. And then careful here now, watch closely here. If we get that signal, if we get that 2-try failure off the low, where does the market want to go? It's going to want to go right there. Okay, that's going to be the big target for us, or at least the 3/4 off target back up at that high. Now watch closely. As we start to make our move higher, my concern is I don't want to buy too high, okay? Because above this area, you're probably going to see sellers waiting up there. I want to buy as low as I can, and this is where you want to look for what's called a bear trap. All right. So think about how these patterns lay out, right? It's a failure pattern. It's a 2-try failure. Because again, this is a decent chance this thing will rip. And I will talk about that in a moment, right? So bears lock those buyers in twice, sell right into their stops. Be aware of that risk-reward equation I gave you earlier. And then my favorite out of all of them is that double bottom. They take out that low, trap those rookies in, use their stops to fuel that 2-try failure, and then grab that bear trap on the way back up and leave a runner, because these types of moves can easily run. Remember, I teach all of these entry patterns in our free trading classes, right? So you guys should know these by now. If you don't know these, if you're watching for the first time, more importantly, if you're not making consistent money right now, what I'll do is I'll put a link up here for you. You've got to learn these setups. The markets are way too good right now not to be doing well consistently. I'm going to put a link up there. Grab that link and take that free trading course, because the strategy you'll learn in that short video series will teach you a simple trick that we use every morning in our members trade room to know exactly where the best winning trades are going to be that day. And most importantly, I'll teach you my 4 favorite entry patterns to help get you start making money on your own. If you're like me and you hate missing the best moves each day, if you're not making money that you want right now, grab that link. You're going to love that free trading course. The roadmap I teach in that will get you on the meat each day. And also, too, don't forget, too, I'm going to put all the important links I talk about tonight. I'll put that down in the description of the video, just in case you can't get your hands on that pop-up in the upper right-hand corner. So everything you need will be down in the description of the video. All right, so now we know. Remember, big move down, want to get that 2-legged pullback, right? And then retest that low. That's the game plan, to short it on the way down and then buy it on the way back up. Now, I want to talk about some variations of this. I want to make sure you guys are ready with a bulletproof plan no matter what happens. Because we can paint the kind of the dream come true scenario all we want, but we want to make sure, remember, the key to making money every day is having a game plan for all the messy stuff, right? It's having a game plan for stuff that we weren't expecting, okay? If you can anticipate that, you're on a roll here. Let's go to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is very similar to the S&P, and we'll talk about some of the variations of these pattern setups. Most important thing right now on the NASDAQ, same idea here as the S&P, had that huge melt-up move. We've got now that pullback we talked about, which triggered by that bull trap we mentioned in last night's video, and now definitely not nearly as bearish as the S&P, but still pretty strong move, right? It's a pretty strong move off that high here. So we got to be careful. The bears are going to want to retest that low before they make that move back up into that trading range, and I want to make sure you guys are ready for any variations along the way. Over in the NASDAQ right now, not as big of a move on the S&P, but still a very strong move down here on the NASDAQ. The most important factor right now in the NASDAQ is it's a strong move down that breaks out of a trading range. Okay, now if you guys watch my videos, you know how this works. Anytime we see a range breakout, we have to think we're going to probably get a breakout pullback. So this is roughly the trading range, right? Kind of a range over the last couple days here. Anytime we see a range breakout, we have to think now the underbelly area, right? These levels of these support levels below the trading range are probably going to act as resistance as well. Now, we talked earlier about the 2-legged pullback, right? How we 1 and then 2, and how usually that 2-legged pullback goes a little bit more more than a 100%. We call these measured moves in the free trading course. So we may not be done going we may not be done going higher here on the Nasdaq, but the same exact game plan comes to mind here, right? Again, think about how big that pullback is. Draw that line right in the middle, right? Above it, it's a 2-try failure. Below it, it's a 2-try failure with a trap entry to make sure you get that risk-reward ratio dialed in. That'll keep you out of a lot of trouble. And then again, if we can get that retest of that low, we trap those bears in with, what was it called again? A 2-try failure, and we get that rotation where? Back up to retest the high. How do I get into something on the way back up? I look for traps, right? Because you want to buy as low as you can. All right, a little recap there on the Nasdaq. Now, another option here, crown reversal. Okay, anytime we see a big, well, remember, we're an overall bull market. It's very important that you don't lose sight of the bigger picture on this. Don't forget the forest, right? Don't just look at the tree. Okay, right now we're pretty bearish, but again, we're overall pretty bullish. So on a market like the Nasdaq, basically a crown reversal is an option here right now. Now, whenever I try a crown reversal, I usually go with a smaller position size. So a half size, a quarter size, right? Minimum size. I always talk about this. When you're trying to pick bottoms like this, again, we anticipate that retest of that low. That's a pretty attractive trade at that double bottom, right? We anticipate them to retest that low. Now, if the bears are trying to sell this thing as we go, if I can get underneath one of these lows, this becomes a crown reversal. Okay. Now remember, in this case, you're getting in before that retest of that low. So these have a greater likelihood of failing on you. That's why I go with a half size, right? Or a quarter size. You know what I mean? And if you're new to this stuff, it might be 0 size, right? It might be waiting and waiting for that double bottom and then going from there. But I want to go big on my best trades, right? And this does not qualify as that best trade. It's a good trade, but it's not a trade you want to go, at least for me personally, I wouldn't go full size position on a crown reversal. Remember, crown reversals, these are going to wrap together a failure pattern, right, where the bears are trying, and a trap pattern. So you put together a failure and a trap. In this case, it's a bear trap. You get a crown reversal. Okay, so crown reversals always on my radar, but again, a bit smaller size, right, than normal. How about a pop and grind channel higher? Okay, one of my favorite chart patterns is we call it a pop and grind, where it'll pop up and start grinding higher, right? Usually a pop and grind higher is a sign of a short squeeze, right? It's a sign of a short squeeze. We saw a pop and grind down today, and that was basically just the buyers getting out of the way, right? The grinding motion is the giveaway. What you want to do is, if we do get that pop and grind higher, or if we just simply continue to grind higher here, right? If we continue, especially through this area, remember, you gotta be kind of careful around this. What is that? 418 to 438 area. What I'd like to do is, ideally, is get through that area. But the most important factor is if we start grinding higher, I can draw a trend line off the highs. I can bring it down to that low, and then what I always do is look left and start finding these prior swings. And then I'm looking for the entry off the low of that channel, right? It could be a trap below a prior swing. A lot of times you may not get that prior swing. The prior swing is ideal, but you may not get it. If you don't, get underneath that 21 moving average, get the bears to try to short this thing, and this can set up for a nice, juicy failure into pullback, into strength move, going higher. We pretty much know where the market wants to go in a range scenario, right? It wants to go back into that trading range. Keep your eyes on that 15,514 area for an easy target, and potentially back up to yesterday's highs if the buyers really get what they want. All right, now this pattern, this kind of pop and grind, it may pop like that and grind up like that, even more convincing. Just simply draw that trend line off the high, bring it down to that big low, and keep on looking for, again, I love traps, but really any of the entry patterns we talk about in the free trading course, right off of that low. All right, guys, that's another way we can trade a variation on this. And then one more I want to go over here is the squeeze with traps, right? The squeeze with traps. So what I mean by that is this could be easy come, easy go, right? We may, especially on the Nasdaq, because the Nasdaq is really not that bearish overall right now. It may start to rip, right? It may might start to rip. Again, like I said earlier, this is kind of that deep pullback that I think everybody was waiting on here. If we were to rip and run higher, what do we always say? Strong move, shallow pullback to the 21 moving average, higher high in price, traps, baby, right? Now, this is one of those half-size positions, right? Because you're buying relatively high. But if it starts to really squeeze and run higher, now remember how we draw this pattern. I get a lot of questions about this every week in my email box. Remember how this pattern works. It's a strong move up and a higher high in price. Okay, strong move up and a higher high in price. Usually that pullback will be barely off that moving average. And when it pulls back, we'll swing, right? Everyone will come in and we'll look for that proper signal candle, the strong green candle closing above the moving average. You guys are learning that in the free trading course. All right, be aware. Okay, be aware if it pops up and starts pulling back and we see one like that, right? Like that, oh boy, that's not the same pattern, right? Now we're getting lower highs. What do you do in that situation? Again, breakout pullback, look for stops to get hit, right? And a run back, right? In a run back down again. All right, so keep that on your radar. Again, if it starts to pop up, strong move, higher high in price, trap low, again, smaller size because you're buying relatively high. The only other variation of this right now would be if we were to really collapse back to that low and make a run all the way down into this area. And this goes for the S&P as well, right? The S&P, it looks like the S&P is you know, I don't want to say oversold, right? It would be pretty surprising to see the S&P continue going lower tomorrow after just a big move today. Not impossible, but surprising, right? So the S&P doesn't look nearly as likely for that. S&P seems more likely for a double bottom off that low. The Nasdaq, though, didn't make nearly as big of a move. And so the Nasdaq may get, you know, for example, we had one leg down, two leg down. They may try to make a third leg down here and kind of bury some of these areas down there at 15,247. If we were to get that 1, 2 and back down, but then we don't get the rookies trapped in to buy it back up, right? If it keeps on going lower, what do you do down there? I still think we're good to be a buyer. I still think there's money to make to be a buyer. What's the problem though? Yeah, the problem is it's a strong move down, so likelihood for a retest is there. Remember that crown reversal, right? Those bears trying once, those bears trying twice. Remember that buy, that trap? We talked about this before. Wrap it together, a failure pattern, right? And a bear trap pattern. This could also V bottom, right? So bounces off that low, bounces hard, V bottom. If you ever get a V bottom like this, just don't chase it. Okay, that's the key. Don't chase it because you'll most likely get that channel coming in. Find that channel high, find that low. You'll most likely get that entry off of that channel. These V bottoms can be difficult. So if it does really rip lower here, I've got some levels down there at 247 3/4. If we bounce hard off that, watch that V bottom and then grab that, right? Grab that first test off the low of that channel. Or if we can get the bears trapped in once, twice. Again, look at how I draw this, right? It's a higher high in price and a trap below that low. Okay, higher high in price, trap below that low. That'll get you in nice and low, and it will prevent you from getting stopped out on the move higher that rolls back lower to retest. And if it does retest that low, if we were to go up and then retest the low, you're already out of that trade with some profit. If it rolls over to that low, what do? You trap the bears in again, right? Same thing, right? Bears once, bears twice, double bottom reversal, and back up we go. Well, actually, back up where? To there, right? So same idea we talked about earlier. It's basically the same idea, right? It's just double bottom off that low. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to go over too many variations because it'll kind of cloud our vision for tomorrow. Tomorrow, though, in the trade room, we'll have real-time data and we'll kind of roll the punches, and no matter what we get, we'll put together a game plan. But now we got a good plan here now, I think, to buy it, to sell it, how to deal with some variations of this. I'm feeling pretty confident now going to Thursday. I'm excited for tomorrow's trading session. And don't forget, there is no better way to learn this stuff than doing it with me every morning in our trade room. We open up every morning at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we trade these markets together. I can't think of any better way to learn to do this the right way. I'll put all the information for that in the description. I'll put the free class links, of course. I would definitely recommend you start with the free trading course, get your feet wet, learn all the setups. That will get you going in the right direction. information. And then when you're ready for membership, when you're ready to come out and trade with me every morning, I'll put all the information down there for our trade room, which opens up every morning. If you need help about getting access to our free classes or any issues along the way, or you got questions about brokers or anything, please don't be a stranger. Megan and I are always here to help every step of the process. So don't be afraid to call the office. We got live chat as well. So definitely don't be a stranger. Keep in touch. We're always here to help out. And in the meantime, I hope you learned a bunch in this video tonight. Nice big move down. Got my eyes on some squeezes going higher here. The game plan's ready. Now we see how to trade it tomorrow morning in our trade room. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Hope you learned something. Hope you use this to earn a lot tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow night. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow night on Thursday night. And hopefully I'll see you sometime soon in the morning trade room. My name is Joseph. Be well. Be nice out there, guys. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.